Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's event with CircuitStream. Today's event is Unlocking the Future, Exploring visionOS, and Empowering XR Creators with Unity. We're going to have a few guest speakers that I will invite up on stage in not too long here. But before I get started, I usually just like to do a quick audio and visual check, make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. Maybe just let me know in the chat log off to the right-hand side. Check, we're good. Hello, hello, perfect. Awesome, awesome. And I also usually like to check in and ask where everybody is joining us from. Personally, I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but feel free to share that in the chat log off to the right as well. We've got Vancouver, San Francisco, Halifax, Toronto, Winnipeg, Greece, Colorado, Guelph, North Carolina. Wow, lots of places today. Well, welcome everybody from wherever you are joining us from. San Francisco again, it's one of my favorite cities. So thank you, welcome everybody. I wanted to let everybody know as well that we have some polls that we will be interacting with throughout the presentation today. So the chat log is off to the right-hand side. I feel like most of you have found that already. We have the questions tab there, so you'll be able to interact with the questions. You can ask questions in the chat log as well. You can use either of those. And then you can also interact with the polls tab. We will be dropping some polls in. I believe we'll actually take a pause moment during the presentation for one of them. But outside of that, we probably will have some interactive polls that you can interact with during the presentation overall. So let me just start off here. I'll get going here by introducing myself. So my name is Tyler. I've worked at CircuitStream for just about 2 years. I guess probably just over 2 years now, but I previously worked in travel and tourism for about 10 plus years, and I am a video game enthusiast myself. I always call myself a senior Fortnite player, one of the only Fortnite players with gray hair, I'm sure, but feel free to share your favorite games in the chat log off to the right-hand side as well. Worked with the Canadian water polo team. I did not. One of our staff members has before, but so yeah, feel free to share your favorite games off to the right-hand side. We will also have Indy joining us here today. Indy is the instructor manager at CircuitStream. Indy manages an incredible team of about 22 instructors. He has already been researching the tools for the Apple Vision and is planning to incorporate this into our curriculum later this year. He is very excited to share today how you can get started on developing with Apple's new headset following their announcement. So I will bring him up on stage in not too long here. We will also have Monday joining us today. Monday is a student alum of our XR Development with Unity course and also our XR Game Development Bootcamp. He will assist answer any questions that you have about the courses. A little bit of a background on Monday. He's a perfect example of a successful student at CircuitStream. He came from outside the gaming industry initially. He took several courses with us, and currently he's working as the senior production manager at Bungie. He does have 10 plus years in business operations and management. He is personally a VR enthusiast and uses console games as inspiration for his VR projects, which is amazing. So if you have any questions for Monday, you are welcome to interact with him. I will be bringing him up on stage a little bit later for the Q&A portion, but he will be in the room, so feel free to interact in the chat log off to the right-hand side. You can ask any questions you like throughout the presentation here, and he'd be happy to answer. So I'm going to jump right in with some information about the XR industry and the opportunities within this space before I hand it over to Indy to talk about the new Vision Pro. I'm going to do a couple things here. We are going to do a little poll here, I guess. We are going to stop and do a little poll. So we're going to post that up in the polls tab. This poll here, I believe, is asking what industry you are currently working in. So feel free to interact with that. Let us know what industries everybody is currently in right now. And while we are filling out the poll, I'm just going to share a little bit of information about the XR industry overall. Some of you may already know about XR. Some of you have heard recent buzz around the new Apple headset, or maybe the Meta Quest 3 headset release that also just came out. Either way, we're going to give you a little bit of a brief overview on the industry overall. So XR stands for extended reality. That encompasses virtual reality, augmented reality, and also mixed reality. XR industry has grown immensely in the last few years and has made its way into a wide range of industries such as gaming, film, music, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and many, many more. Many companies are now using XR for training simulations, for interactive customer experiences, for project visualization, for learning experiences, product development, virtual tours, and so on and so forth. So when you complete the poll, it should show you in real time the results as they currently stand, and I believe that updates. But in just a moment, somebody from our team is going to post at least the top 3 results, I think, in terms of the industries for everybody who's currently in the chat here with us. I'll give it just a second. I think she's going to be able to post that up. It looks like she's posting something up right now. There we go. So currently with technology being the highest, not a surprise, I guess, 46%. Healthcare is sitting at 8%, and construction and real estate is sitting at 8%. I see dental software in there too. So these are all very common industries. We're seeing a lot of training coming through healthcare. We're seeing a lot of implication for XR in construction and real estate, for building plans, site plans. There's so much you can do with it. So not surprised there to see those results, but if anybody's interested in kind of seeing the total poll results, I think we had about 10 different industries listed there. Reach out to anybody on the team. We can certainly share the overall results with you after, but I think you should see it on your own poll as well. Today's presentation is all about the Apple headset. So with this release of the new device, the XR markets were already growing rapidly and are only going to continue to grow even faster with the increased competition from Apple. So far, we've really only seen Meta dominate this space, but personally, I'm really excited to finally see some real competition enter the arena. I'm curious in the chat if anybody else is kind of feeling the same, seeing Apple making its way into XR right now. The primary roles in XR are usually grouped into either design or development, and we'll be talking about both of those throughout the presentation here today. XR designers are primarily responsible for conceptualizing ideas and experiences, planning visuals through storyboarding, and prototyping to ensure optimal experience. On the other hand, XR developers take the design blueprints and implement them to build an XR app or experience, and utilize coding to bring it to life for the end users. So these people usually work closely together, or it could be an individual, somebody who has both skill sets and is able to design and develop an entire experience from start to finish on their own. CircuitStream offers courses in both of these areas, and I'm going to share a little bit of information on both of those for this presentation. The demand for developers and designers in the XR space has grown dramatically, and it does continue to grow with these technologies becoming even more common. We've broken down the average salaries for design and development roles in both US and Canada. As you can see, both countries offer highly competitive compensation. Feel free to take some screenshots. This is just kind of an info-heavy slide, so feel free to take some screenshots if anybody would like. But I would like to share that this entire presentation will be recorded, and we are going to share it with everybody who's in the audience here today. So feel free to take screenshots as you like, but we will send you the full presentation just in case. You may know about CircuitStream already, but just in case, we were founded back in 2015 as educators in the XR space. We've grown a lot over the last 8 years and are now partnered with companies such as Unity, Meta, Niantic, as well as leading educational institutions to offer courses and training to those looking to gain XR skills. What's great about working with some of the industry partners like Unity is we get to help graduates from our programs earn Unity certifications, which are recognized in the industry. We've also formed great partnerships with leading universities, which allow our learners to earn recognized designations from these schools as well. We have now reached over 50,000 people and thousands of alumni through our workshops and courses. Whether it's applying XR in your current role or moving into a new XR role altogether, now is a great time to gain these skills. And so now, without further ado, I am going to invite Indy up on stage to talk a little bit about Apple's recent announcement and what it means for XR. And then once Indy's done, I'm going to pop back up and walk you through a little bit of the XR course information and the details. We have a little bit of a special offer, I guess, for the attendees here as well that I will share. So hello, Indy, welcome on stage.
Hello, Tyler. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me as well? Awesome. All right. Cool. So today the idea is to just go through the device itself. Just talk about what sort of specs that we have, that they have, introduced within the WWDC, and talk a little bit about the visionOS, which is going to be the new operating system, and then also, somehow kind of inform you the steps of getting into the development on top of this platform. So Let's talk about Vision Pro. So, quick question: like, what are the what is the most killer feature that you think in Vision Pro? I know that almost all of you have watched the keynote. Let's go to the other slide. Eye tracking. All right, that's good. That's good. Eye tracking, UI, high-res optics. What else? What else? Dual chips, of course. Of course, the core processor. Yeah, R1 chip, spatial computation, desktop replacement. Amazing. All right. So in general, thank you so much for your for your answers. All right, awesome. So in general, this device, I watched the whole thing. I watched it like a couple of times. It's one of the best devices. Of course, it is expensive, but based on one thing to mention, I actually went to Augmented World Expo this time, and I tried out all of the different AR headsets, right? Augmented reality headsets, VR headsets, Wario, Pico headsets and everything. So this is some sort of a killer. This, unfortunately, like we don't really have a device to test how it looks like, but based on the specs that they have mentioned, this is kind of like a killer headset, right? It's like, it actually justifies the cost of it as well. So the biggest feature that I am most interested in is actually a couple of features. Of course, eye tracking is fine. It's already there in Quest Pro as well. It is already there in Quest Pro as well. But the most prominent feature that I think is the AR, the LiDAR sensor that it has in the, I think it's in the middle of it, right? And the couple of sensors that are underneath the device, which kind of tracks your hand movement. So it doesn't really need you to put your hand up like this, because Oculus Quest. So there are like two cameras over here, which tracks your hand. But to do that, you have to get your hand all the way up in front of the device, right? But the thing with the Apple Vision Pro is that you have the two cameras that actually, works as a hand tracking camera. Now, of course, there is an eye tracking camera that's in the other side of the device, and there is another screen in front of it. So comparatively, let's just say Quest Pro or the Oculus Quest, the major difference in between the Quest and the Apple Vision Pro is that the Apple Vision Pro is the first VR headset that has some sort of a dual pass-through, right? So there are a couple of cameras in the inside of it, which actually captures your eye movement. And also it uses some sort of a 3D model, which kind of replaces it. So you kind of see that you're, you can see people from the outside, and people from the outside can see your hand movement, right? It's very creepy. I think it's the first iteration. So like for the moment, it's creepy. I think in the future, they're going to kind of, optimize it in a way that it looks like an AR headset. But the thing is, Apple in their WWDC, they explained a lot. They explained so much of use cases in augmented reality, right? So there's this branding thing. They have never mentioned augmented reality in their keynote. They told that it is immersive. And they showed a bunch of use cases that are mainly in alignment with augmented reality, right? But the thing is, Apple headset itself is not an augmented reality device, right? So if it is an augmented reality device, you should be able to see just like this. But in reality, it is not. It uses a bunch of cameras to capture the world around you and just show it, just project it to your eyes. And the other thing is that the this device, processors-wise, it has the M2 processor, as some of you have said. And on top of that, they have another processor, which is called R1. So this is like a core processor, as somebody said. That is the processor that actually does the whole tracking processes, right? So this is more like a new MacBook that is strapped onto your head, right? And at the same time, there is another sensor that actually captures the world around you. So this is the most important part when it comes to VR and AR, right? Contextual understanding the world around you. None of the AR headsets, apart from Magic Leap and the Microsoft HoloLens did not have a sensor which actually tracks the world, right? So now this device, it has a LiDAR sensor. So LiDAR sensors, like if you have an Apple iPhone, right over here, you will be able to see a LiDAR sensor which has like a huge capability of understanding the mesh or the world obstacles around you, because it uses a it uses LiDAR. Basically, LiDAR is being used in robotics. So comparative, like adding everything put together, like they actually justified the cost. They told that they're using like 13 cameras around the whole headset, 2 cameras inside, 2 cameras for hands, like 5 or 6 cameras just to capture your face. There is a LiDAR sensor. There's a bunch of stuff going, right? So it actually justifies the price, which is, of course, this is like the first iteration. So they are like targeting more on the developer's perspective to actually build components, build applications, build frameworks, build stuff. So this is, in the future, this is going to be a consumer-friendly device. So in general, I'm really happy about it because this actually validates what we've been working for. Like there were some ups and downs when it comes to VR and AR. There were some discussions about metaverse and things like that. But because, Apple has released something like this, of course, it actually validates the market. So I'm happy to be in this field since like 8 years. And I'm happy now it's kind of, in the future, it's going to be really great. So let's talk about the visionOS now. Hands up, or maybe just put an emoji if you have ever done any sort of a development onto any of these operating systems. Put a thumbs up or put any emoji, right? Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS is actually a version of iOS. And then there's TV OS, right? Watch OS. So I'll show that in my, when I'm doing my demo as well. But somehow Apple's developer ecosystem is very unique, right? It is very unique that you can never have like 2 different kinds of devices. Like, for example, you cannot have a MacBook and an Android working together properly, right? You cannot have a MacBook and a Windows device working properly unless, of course, Windows has created capability to do so, right? So Apple never talks about their other operating systems. Sorry, Apple never talks about other devices, other operating systems. So they kind of believe that like it's only Apple, right? So in this world, there's only Apple. There's nothing else. So if we are to develop applications onto any of these Apple devices, right? Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS, or in the future, visionOS, Apple has their own ecosystem already made out for the developer, right? So if you have done development on iOS, you might have been familiar with this tool called Xcode, right? So in Xcode itself, there are some frameworks, there are some languages that you use to build applications. So they have created their own user interface frameworks, right, to build applications. So operating systems wise, there are not a lot of changes because it is pretty much the same architecture, right? So if we talk about the technological aspect of it, it is the same architecture. It's the M2 chip, M1 chip. So they have their own processor architecture, and operating system runs on a processor. So if it is the same processor, right? It is the same processor, M2 processor that is in the device, in the headset. There are M2 MacBooks. If you compare M1, there are M1 iPads, right? There are M1 MacBooks. So operating system has the capability to instruct those processors. So if you're actually developing for this, right, there's not a lot of things that you need to learn additionally to build, right? Because the underlying foundation is already made up, right? It's already there. Now, if we talk about visionOS, right? So if you have ever used Xcode, building for visionOS is just a pretty simple migration, right? They have created, so if you go to our next slide, they have mentioned in their WWDC presentation, so there are some frameworks that are already out of the box. Those frameworks are going to be compatible, right? There is something called Swift UI. So if you have built native Apple macOS applications, you may have used Swift UI. It is the Swift UI that allows you to build, windows, menus, buttons, and stuff like that, right? So this is already in Vision Pro. So you will be able to build Windows, like, 2D apps. You'll be able to build 2D apps which can be projected within the Vision Pro using Swift UI. And then there's another one called Reality Kit, right? So what does Reality Kit do? Reality Kit is the one that actually creates the 3D, like it actually enables 3D models to be in a scene, something called a scene, right? So it manages different materials. So I'm talking a little bit of technical terms, right? So materials, lighting, colors, 3D models, things like that to be put onto these scenes. And then there's another framework which is called ARKit. And ARKit has been there since 5-6 years now. And ARKit is going to be the developer framework for context recognition. So what does it mean by context recognition? Understanding the world around you, right? Image tracking, object tracking. So like your positioning, right? When it comes to an environment, where is your head, right? When it comes to your room, like comparatively your room's dimensions. So those things are managed by ARKit. So those are the frameworks that are already there as developers and designers for us to build stuff, right? So how do we build stuff? That is where they've introduced these different tools. As you can see right here, Reality Composer Pro. Reality Composer Pro. So currently there is no Reality Composer Pro software available for us, right? Currently it's not available, but it's in the works, right? So they might be releasing it in about a couple of months, in between a couple of months. So I'm pretty excited to try it out. And then of course Xcode, it has been there since like 15 years, right? People have been building applications on top of Xcode. And the coolest part is within their WWDC presentation, they mentioned that they've partnered up with Unity, right? As per my knowledge, they have never mentioned Unity in any of their developer presentations before, right? I checked all of their developer videos, developer documentation, and there's like a serious amount of Unity-based documentation available, even right now, for us to get started with design and development for this device, right? But unfortunately, the device is not available with us right now. But based on some of the things that they have mentioned in their presentation, and also in some of the tools that we have right now, building applications to visionOS, right? Building applications onto that device it's not going to be a hassle, right? In fact, we've created I put together a little bit of a demo just to show like how we can design and also how we can develop using two of these tools. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show like a very simple thing. It's not that much. It's not that big. I just took like 10 minutes to put this together. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. All right. Can you see my screen? All right. Put an emoji if any of you have used this tool before. Put up an emoji if you have used this tool before. This tool is called Reality Composer. I cut off the pro part. I cut off the pro part, not a pro. Reality Composer and no pro. Awesome. All right, there are some people who have used it, right? Awesome. So I can see all of you are asking questions. It goes like pretty quickly. I'm gonna be answering all of your questions at the end of this, right? So don't worry. Awesome. So this tool is called Reality Composer, right? It's not Reality Composer Pro. And as I've mentioned before, this is a tool that comes with this thing called Xcode, right? So I had mentioned about Xcode. This is the tool that Apple allows developers to, this is the tool that allows developers to build applications on any Apple device, right? Over here, you can see iOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and in the future, there's going to be visionOS over here, right? So that's So this is the dream, right? So finally we are going to have some sort of an AR operating system over here. And as you can see here, Xcode, it has a separate part to build augmented reality applications, right? So this is too much, this is too technical, but they have given us, as a part of Xcode, there is another tool called Reality Composer, which allows us to build or at least prototype augmented reality applications, right? So what I've done here is, as you can see, this is a very simple solar system, right? It is a very simple solar system, and this is a 3D model called USDC format 3D model. I'll talk about that if you have questions in the Q&A sessions. So basically, if I just play this over here, right? What you can see here is just a solar system that goes around, right? And I can add behaviors, like for example, I just tapped on the sun and it just popped up something called sun, right? So this is actually a prototyping tool that has allowed designers to quickly design like something in AR, right? So they have given like some sort of behaviors, like for example, if I click this sun and then there is this this button called behaviors, you can add behaviors, right? So this is like no code. It's a no code solution. There is nothing to code, right? So this has given us the capability to use the tools that they have given to build simple behaviors, simple interactions, right? So just to show you a quick demo of how this could actually look like in AR, I just recorded how it looks like, right? So this is actually my apartment, and as you can see here, the sun is there, and everything works perfect, right? So I tapped on the sun, and this is where you can see the word sun that pops up on the on this, right? So that is using the Reality Composer. So Apple in their presentation, they mentioned that there's going to be a new tool called Reality Composer Pro, which is actually an extended version of the same tool, but it has more capabilities than this. So right now, of course, you can do a little bit of interactions with this, with 3D models. And I'm happy to say that this is already in our design course. Not the same tool, but the principles of this. We have Adobe Aero in our design course, and at the same time, like this is pretty much similar. There's not a lot of differences, but how you interact with it, how you add 3D models, how you create behaviors, and everything is exactly exactly. It looks like a ripoff of Adobe Aero, right? Of course. Awesome. So now, what is in it for the developers, right? All right, I haven't forgotten you, right? So for developers, they also can use the existing tools in Unity, right? So in our XR design courses, we talk about the principles of 3D real-time development, right? And the contextual change when it comes to a normal 3D application and a VR or an AR application is the difference between the environment that you interact with, right? Like for an example, this is another small demo that I put together on Unity game engine. And as you can see here, it is pretty much the same solar system, right? I have a simple text object that actually shows sun right here, right? And I have created a small script, right? So when I tap on this, I've created a small script. When I tap on this, the sun needs to be visible. At least, actually, it's not tap, it's gaze. You look at it, and the sun, the text sun would pop out. So what I have used to do this, there are tools called AR Foundation. There is a framework called AR Foundation, and there is another one called XR Interaction Toolkit. I'll talk about that later in another slide. But just to give you a demonstration of this, this is how it looks like. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, right? It's pretty much the same thing as in the Reality Kit Pro, Reality Composer. But as you can see, if I look at the sun, the word sun pops up, right? Let's look at it again. I look at the sun and the sun pops up. If I move my head away from it, it goes away. If I look at it, it pops up. If I move away, there you go. So what is the difference between a Reality Composer Pro, like a small authoring tool, and using Unity? Unity allows you to create anything that is possible, right? Whatever comes to your mind, you can just build, right? So Apple says that this device can be used to build immersive applications, which is another term for augmented reality, and fully immersive applications, which is another term for virtual reality, right? So that is what they have mentioned, and they've mentioned that the tools that I've used to build this demo is exactly the same thing that's going to be used by Apple's Vision Pro, right? So there's not a lot of changes. I mean, there's nothing, not a lot. There's nothing, no change that you have to do in order to build a VR or an AR application onto this device. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this presentation. There are a couple of things that I need to talk about, and then I'll hand it over to Tyler. So let me just close it. All right, so let's speak about Unity a little bit, right? If you go to the next slide. So in our courses, we are using Unity. We are mainly using Unity mainly for the developer course, but we are using it for our design course as well. And we are using two main frameworks. The first one is called AR Foundation. This is actually a layer that is using the Apple's AR features, so that we can, without a hassle, we can build AR applications with Unity, and we can immediately we can just pop it into our device and run on it, and it uses this ARKit features to run the application that you've built. And then they have another framework called XR Interaction Toolkit, which allows us to build very simple interactions. The interaction that I showed you in the demo, like you look at the sun and it just shows something, you look away from it and it just goes away. That is known as a gaze interactor. You look at it, right? It's gazing. You look at it and then it just activates. So Apple, they say that they had their eye tracking feature, which is going to be supporting this gaze feature that I've already added, right? So if you look at the sun, it's going to pop up. If you look away, it's going to go, right? So that is how they've actually used these interactions. So you don't really have to move your hand like this to pick things up, right? You just have to look at it and do this. Look at it and do this, right? Because when you look at it, it recognizes your gaze movement, right? So this is something that I've put together, even without the Apple Vision Pro or visionOS, because the tools are already there, right? Okay, so just to talk about, why we learn Unity, what is the importance of us to learn Unity? If we go to the next slide. Yes. Okay, you can, as Tyler said, you can get a screenshot if you want. So why learn Unity? So if you are to learn 3D real-time technologies from scratch, you have to learn a lot of mathematics, right? It's a hassle, right? Nobody does that. Unity is a 3D engine, right? I would say it started as a 3D game engine, but I would say it's a 3D real-time graphics engine, which allows you to build not only games, it allows you to build visualizations. There is something called digital twin. You can get an actual dimensions of an actual machine and replicate it within Unity. So they have tools for that, right? And you can create effects, you can create movies with Unity, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can do because this being a 3D engine. And the coolest part is Unity is partnering up with all of these platforms. It has partnered up with PlayStation, Apple, Android, what else? Windows, Linux. This is a tool that you can build something and publish into different platforms. You can build a game that runs on your Windows machine and you can push it into visionOS, right? So they mentioned that in their presentation. You can use a controller like this, and because it uses the M2 processor, you can connect this to like you're connecting your normal controller to a computer. Exactly. So this is not going to be React Native, right? This is going to be a native game that runs in front of you, and you can use this to play the game, right? So you're going to be fully immersed in this game. So yes, so that is why we use Unity. Unity is a really good tool. It is like comparatively compared to other 3D rendering tools, 3D engines. Unity has a really good platform capability, and it's just a click of a button. There's not a lot of things that you have to do, so you can focus on the development of your own solution. You can build a game and you can focus only on that. You don't really need to go through the hassle of putting this into visionOS or putting this into Android. It's just a click of a button. So if you have used Unity before, in Unity there is an option that you can switch the platform, right? So you build on Windows and then you switch the platform to run on Android or iOS or Mac OS, or in the future they're going to release a new module called visionOS, fingers crossed, and you can just move it to visionOS and build it without any additional tools. These tools we already talk about. These are the tools that we already talk about in our courses, right? So I'm pretty excited to actually try this, to actually try a real device and build stuff on it, and actually run a game or two, right? Actually port some of the projects that we have done over to this. So let's see how it goes. So to talk about our course information and also the partnerships with Unity and CircuitStream, I'm going to give this stage back to Tyler, but I'm going to be here for your questions and answers. All right.
Perfect. Just bringing myself back up on stage here. Awesome. And let me get my my notes back up here as well. Thank you so much, Indy. That's amazing. Always love having you up on stage. Love seeing the demos that you create. And Indy will actually be coming back up on stage in not too long here for the Q&A portion at the end. But for now, I'm going to take back over here and just go through a little bit of the presentation here. So just share a little bit of the course information with everybody. So both of our X courses have been created to teach you foundational skills, excuse me, meaning you will gain the essential skills in either developing or designing for XR and be able to use to create these XR experiences for a wide range of devices. I'm sorry, everybody, this is a live presentation. I'm just going to mute for a quick second and cough. There we go. Okay, back to where I was. So the slides on the screen here, the slide that's up right now, these are some of our current student projects. One of my favorite projects to share is the one in the bottom left corner. It is a VR Hogwarts experience, and you get to kind of explore and walk around Dumbledore's room in the castle. So very cool. I get to experience all different types of projects. Andrew, yes, actually the creator of the Harry Potter scene is in the chat right now, which is amazing. So yeah, just one of the notable ones that I like to say is one of my favorites here as well. Hello, Andrew. This is great. On to the next slide. So the XR development with Unity course is designed for individuals interested in understanding how to use Unity and C# coding to develop XR experiences. The great thing about this course is that it is all project-based, so you'll learn concepts in class and you'll get to actually apply them in real-life projects, with the final project being a game jam where you can work with a team of other students to create your own XR experience. Our students really enjoy this aspect of the course because it allows you to build up a portfolio of projects and to demonstrate the skills that you've actually learned throughout the course. By the end of the 10 weeks, you will have already learned foundational Unity skills, how to code C#, and how to develop an AR and VR application. So in a nutshell, if you want to learn programming and development concepts, the XR development course is definitely the one for you. If you'd like to get started on an application for any of our courses here, feel free to share, to visit our website. Sorry, we'll be sharing some information for you later on in the presentation as well. And as you saw with Indy today, Apple is releasing its new tools. So our plan at CircuitStream is to incorporate and start teaching with these new tools as soon as we possibly can. Now, I've already mentioned Unity, and Indy did as well, but there are a few other tools listed here that you will see in our course. C#, AR Core, AR Kit. I think Indy may have also mentioned a little bit on this here, but we're always reviewing the materials and the tools used in the courses to ensure that they are the most up-to-date with what is currently being used in the industry. So you might see some additional tools listed or added or swapped out depending on when you took or take the course with us here at CircuitStream. And hopefully the new Apple visionOS will be shown here very soon on the screen as well, along with the other tools. The interaction design and prototyping for XR course, on the other hand, is designed for those interested in understanding how to design XR experiences and interactions. This course is also project-based, so you'll have the chance to take the concepts learned in class and apply them to real-life projects. By the end of the 10 weeks, you will have learned how to apply UX best practices to XR experiences and prototype AR and VR experiences using industry-recognized tools. And I saw somebody ask in the chat a little bit before. I know I mentioned it earlier. So the entire presentation is going to be shared with everybody. So it would be the video recording of the entire presentation. So feel free to take screenshots today, but you can also go back. You can rewatch the whole presentation. You can take notes. You can take screenshots of the recording, anything you like there, just to access the information. And then some of the tools, I've already mentioned the tools here. Let's go on. So if you finish the course with a portfolio of projects to demonstrate the skills you've learned in the course, you'll also receive a digital badge that you can add to your resume or your LinkedIn profile page to show your completion of the course. And last but not least, by enrolling in this course, you will gain access to our private community. We have a community on Discord with just over 1,200 active members. The community is a great place to network, to get help assistance on projects, to ask questions, to find out career opportunities, or just to connect with other like-minded individuals. There's lots of developers in the chat, there's lots of designers in the chat, and we end up seeing a lot of people come together in collaboration on different types of projects. In fact, with that, I believe we have one of our alum, Monday, who I mentioned earlier, kind of hanging out in the audience right now. If I can, Monday, I might put you on stage and get you to pop up right now and maybe just share a little bit about your experience with our community and how you found it helpful for your career. If Monday,
hello.
Monday's here. Hello, Monday.
Right. I'm assuming you can hear
me. We can hear you.
Perfect.
Yeah, everything's good. We could see you. So welcome, Monday. Just with that, sorry to put you on the spot, but maybe I'll ask you a little bit about your experience with the Circuit Stream community.
Yeah. So hey everyone, my name is Monday. I've been with Circuit Stream since 2021. So I started off with XR Dev, and I've been in the chat and answering some questions. But just for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I knew absolutely nothing. Tyler has actually been along for the ride most of my journey because he is the first one I talked to, and of course we still stay connected. But I didn't even know what XR stood for when I started. It was one of the things where I was in a career that I was good at but didn't like, and I was getting to the point where I wanted to try something new, and I always wanted to get into like tech and video games, and everybody kept talking about VR and AR and XR, and of course like your phones listen to you. And so all of a sudden, like, I started getting all the ads for like different courses and boot camps, and Circuit Stream just kept popping up. And so I talked to Tyler, and Tyler was telling me about all the different course offerings. But the one thing that I did like was Tyler was like, do a workshop. Like, we have all these workshops. We actually have one coming up with our instructor Nakisa. Like, jump in and just see if this is something that you would even like doing. And I remember it was build your own Pokemon Go augmented reality app. And it blew my mind that at the end of that workshop, like, I had Pokemon Go and I had created it. And Akisa did a great job explaining how to introduce your own monsters or how to then play with your monsters and all these different things that you could spiral out into. And so, yeah, I decided to sign up for XR Dev and knew nothing. C# kicked my butt for like the first 3 weeks, but I did, talk to Indica and talk to another instructor by the name of Ozzy, and they really, really pushed to like take your time, use your one-on-one, use your office hours, connect with like the Circuit Stream community, ask questions. And by like week 3, I was building my own 3D space shooter game, which like blew my mind that I'm like making a game that's actually like fun. My daughter loved playing it. And then by like the halfway point, when you started really getting into like VR and XR, like I was building a VR project. And I wish I still had the file, but I built this zombie tower defense game that Indica reminded me of last time I was on a call with Indica, and like that project is gone because I didn't know what GitHub was at the time, and I wiped it off of my laptop. But it was super exciting, and so yeah, I continued with that. I've done the Circuit Stream game development boot camp, and like Tyler said at the beginning of the presentation, I was able to do a career transition. I currently work for Bungie. I am working on the Marathon project, which I can finally say now that we've officially announced. I'm working on bringing Marathon back as Bungie's IP. and super excited about it. So yeah.
Awesome. And just to poke a little bit further there, so Monday took the boot camp, and as a final project, it created a playable game. And then maybe with that, you've kind of leaned on the community on that sense too, right? And kind of built your team.
Yeah. So I, like Tyler was saying, at the end of the boot camp, you end with a capstone project. And so me and the team that I was working on really just like fell in love with our project. And we've continued it. So we've been working on that project consistently for almost 2 years now. We're at like a little past a year and a half mark. But it went from 3 of us working on it together during the course to 2 of us continuing it after the boot camp. And now we are a team of 8, and all 8 of us are Circuit Stream alumni. We pretty much sourced everybody from our Discord channel, and we're just like, hey, we're looking for designers and developers to join this project and help bring this game to life. And it just blows my mind. I was just in our Discord chat. I was multitasking silently in the background, but it's like the work that we're able to do, and just knowing that all of us pretty much started at the same point, and now we're all kind of like living our best lives thanks to Circuit Stream, has just been like mind blowing to see what we're able to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Monday. It's I hear the story. Obviously, I know your story quite well, but I hear this story so many times from students, and just a collaboration on projects. But even just if you have questions and you're outside of class hours, the instructors are there and they can assist, in open office hours. But you can even lean on support of your fellow classmates, on alum, people who have taken the courses previously. There's so many helpful people in this community. So I guess our Discord community is no exception for that. So Monday, I am going to share a little bit more information here, but we are going to do Q&A here. So maybe I'll just get you to mute yourself for a moment, but you can stay up on stage, and then we'll bring Indy back up not too long here, and we'll do some questions and answers. But I'm just going to share a little bit more information here. Not quite, Indy. You can stay muted there for now as well if you want, but. So a little bit more about the logistics of the course. I'm just going to share that before we move into the questions. The course is 10 weeks long and consists of about 3 hours of live online instruction per week via video conference, and about roughly 6 hours of independent study. The great thing to note is that these live sessions are recorded and then sent to the students in case you miss one or need to go back. I always use the example, you can be in the middle of a live class and the doorbell might ring, or the phone might ring, or whatever the case may be. If you miss a little bit, or if you miss a couple of the classes throughout the course, you have the recordings to lean on and support you. You can even just go back to the recordings and review notes if you did make the first class, but you're just looking for a little bit of assistance. We also offer daily office hours where students can drop in and ask questions if they have. So a great perk is that our student alumni get lifetime access to the class recordings and materials, and also the office hours. So that's what I was just saying with Monday. You're able to kind of pop in and connect with the instructors, but you're part of the community forever as long as you wish to be. So if you're a current student, you can kind of chat with our pool of alum that are going to be in the community or in the Discord server as well. So we will be there to support you is kind of the main message. These are the available time slots for the courses. We split them into Pacific and Eastern time zones to make it easier. Hopefully everybody can find the one that works the best for them. I'm going to take a quick little pause here again, let you take a screenshot, but as I mentioned before, the entire presentation will be recorded. But for anybody looking at attending some of the upcoming cohorts, this information is incredibly beneficial, just so you know what the time zones would look like for yourself there. So, all right, I'm going to move on from this one. Let's go over a couple items that you'll want to know once you're ready to apply for the course. Most people start off asking about dates and pricing, so I'm just going to go through a little bit of that information here with everybody. So we offer 2 different packages for both courses. The starter pack is great for people who already have a little bit of experience and don't need additional assistance. If you're a complete beginner, we do usually recommend that you lean more towards the Plus package. The Plus package, you're going to get access to our premium community features, such as access to challenges, premium workshops, content, and more. Just offers a little bit of additional support for somebody who's starting off brand new. As a live attendee for today's events, when we run these events, we usually offer promotions through the event itself. So for anybody who's in the audience today, if you do register for the upcoming cohorts here, you're actually able to save 15%. And I believe this is going to run until June 27th. And it would just be for everybody who is in the presentation here today. So we can share a little bit more information here shortly on how to register, but a nice little promo for the attendees of the event here. We also offer different financing options depending on which region you are from. For students in the US, we partner with Climb to offer monthly payment options. And if you're in Canada or any other countries basically outside of the US, you can take advantage of our deferred payment plans directly through CircuitStream. So, people can pay for the course upfront if they like, but most commonly people do payment plans and kind of defer the payments over time. Once you're ready to apply, our enrollment advisors can take any questions you have. They can help about pricing, payment options, make sure that you're kind of set up with the right option for you. It's really important that we make these courses accessible as possible for everyone. And we don't really want payment or pricing to be a big barrier for new students, especially. So offering the discount and then also the payment plans usually assist in that side. Our admissions team is also available to talk to you today if you have any questions about getting started in any of the courses. If you have any questions about the payment plans, just reach out to the admissions team here directly today, and we can assist with that. We typically run the courses every few months, but our upcoming cohorts are July and the XR development with Unity in September for the interaction design and prototyping. Sorry, I said that a little messy there. So the upcoming cohorts are July is going to be XR development with Unity, and then September will be interaction design and prototyping for XR, just to make that a little bit clearer. And so the registration is now open. We just want to encourage anybody who's interested in taking the course. We will have limited seating. I'm not actually sure how many seats are filled right now, but I know it is limited and they do fill up quite quickly. So if you are looking to secure a spot, feel free to book a meeting with us here today. We're going to add the meeting links into the chat here directly just to make it as easy as possible for people. So feel free to click the links. We do have 3 links that will be shared. The direct registration link through CircuitStream, and then also our University of British Columbia and our University of Toronto link should be off to the side there. I'm just going to take a little break here just for about 10, 15, 20 seconds and let people kind of find the links in the comments. Feel free to click and book a meeting. If you're having any trouble finding that on the side, I can see it now, so I don't think it's been lost there, but just let us know. We can absolutely share this information with anybody interested during or immediately after the presentation today too, but I can see the links are off to the side there. And everybody's sharing their LinkedIn as well, which is great. Awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm going to move on. But yes, just again, feel free to click and register before the seats fill up there. And we are going to move into the question and answer tab. So we've got Monday here, we've got Indica here. I'm going to leave this screen up so that we're all kind of just smaller off to the side here. And I have not, admittedly, I've been busy with the presentation. I've not looked at the questions tab this entire presentation, but it looks like we have quite a few. So, so welcome back up, Indica and Monday. Monday, you are still muted there too.
There we go.
And perfect. So what I'll do is maybe I'll just go through and start posting some of these questions here. And between the 3 of us, we can do our best to answer. So I'll do this one here first. Do you recommend learning to develop? As a designer, sometimes there is tendency to want to know it all. So that's either one of you can answer that. I'll let you guys fight over it.
I'm gonna give it to Monday. He has been a learner, and that's a good question for Monday.
Yeah, so I would, as a person who leans more towards being a developer, I would say yes, learning to develop. I will say specifically for XR Dev versus XR Design, XR Dev is very C# heavy. Everything you do kind of starts off with C# and is like based around that. So if you want to develop, but you're not interested in learning how to code necessarily, XR development might not be for you. XR design is more focused on low code or no code methods of doing more design principles and the fundamentals of design. You still learn how to do some development, but you learn it through the XR interaction toolkit, which is a low code method or some other no code methods. But the combination of the two does make you a superhero of the industry if you can design and develop. But choosing where your entry point is, I think, is more based off of, do you want to learn how to code at the beginning, or would you rather emphasize your design elements and then learn how to code at the kind of towards the back end of that?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump into this as well. So let's just say that you're a designer, right? So your main task is to design. Let's just say that you're designing the newest Uber application version, right? So as a designer, what would you do? You would design the components, you would design the colors of the components, you would design how the buttons should look like, right? How the animation should look like, how these interactions should look like, right? So that is the task of a designer. So a designer is not the person who actually codes and develops it to be, to run it on an app, right? But you're prototyping, you're defining, this is how it should be, right? You are the person who's defining how the interaction should be. So move it over to XR, right? So let's just say that a team of XR developers and designers are working on a game, and it is the designer's task to design how this interaction should look like. How do you press a button? You press a button like this or like this. So the designer is the one who's designing that, right? So you have to prototype that design, and you have to convey that message to developers, right? So that is the role of an XR designer, right? If you're an XR developer, you are the person who's actually taking the design, and you are the person who's actually developing. You are the one who's making the interactions. So there are tools available, there are tools like Unity and things like that. They are available so that you can create really high fidelity designs. If you're a designer, you don't have any coding background, of course, you can learn the fundamentals of 3D real-time design. And then, of course, you can use those knowledge to design and animate. You can use them to prototype your idea. The developer's task is to actually code and build that custom interaction. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you both. You're both speaking above my pay grade. I certainly wouldn't be able to answer that quite as detailed as you did. So perfect. And then this one, I'm sure there's lots of ways we could kind of break this down, but there was a few upvotes here. But how does the Vision Pro compare with the HoloLens?
Okay, so HoloLens is actually, we can call it an augmented reality device. So what HoloLens is, let's just compare it to a normal spectacle, just like this. And it has a bunch of sensors over here, right? So these sensors has the capability to track the world around you. It uses some algorithms, some depth sensing technologies to understand the obstacles, the walls, and everything around you. And at the same time, when you look at it, when you put your hands onto this, it can recognize your hand movement, right? So what it does is it projects some sort of a image to this glass. So you kind of see it as, something on the table, right? So that is what HoloLens does. But the Vision Pro, it's something that is completely hidden. You cannot see anything. There is no glass, right? What they do is they capture the world using a camera and kind of project it again back to your eyes, with all of the other AR elements, 3D models, windows, like it kind of projects it. So you have the actual world, and then you have the 3D models, which kind of being captured by a camera, which passes into your eye. So that is the main difference between Vision Pro and HoloLens.
Again, much more technical than I would be able to answer. So thank you, Indy. Amazing. Let me bring up, will CircuitStream have any future class specifically for Reality OS or Apple Reality Pro? I can let you just maybe touch on that quickly, Indy.
So for the moment, we haven't actually, our main goal is to not specific to a tool, right? So if you are learning how to draw, we are not going to teach you how to draw using Photoshop, something like, I'm going to give you a metaphor, right? So we are teaching you the principles, we're teaching you basics. And of course, we are using Unity to present it. But on top of that, we have our instructors doing one-on-one sessions, workshops, monthly challenges, things like that, which are focused on a specific tool. And you can definitely, if you are an alumni, if you are a student of us, maybe Monday can speak us to as well. Like you have like that support. You have somebody who's willing to teach you if there is a new thing coming, even after like you've taken the course. So let's just say Vision Pro, and of course we may not have like a whole syllabus for the Vision Pro, but of course we'll have like a workshop or like an internal talk session or something that kind of walks you through the steps of developing for the platform.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'll add is like what I've noticed is like the CircuitStream community, like the instructors and the people creating like the workshops, like Indica's saying, really listen to like the community. So of course, like Unreal is like a big one, and it's like, when is Circuit Stream going to do an Unreal course and all this stuff, and like while that's in development, because it's, to do it right is more than just like, oh yeah, we're going to take everything we do in XRDev and make it for Unreal, because Unreal is its own beast. They've done like workshops, and like Indica does like little snapshots of like, hey, this is how you do this in Unreal, or here's like an introduction to C++, or like a blueprint. And even for like design side, like as there's more things in the design world that pop up, the instructors do a good job of like, we don't have a course or maybe a workshop, but we are listening. So here's some additional information, or here's your answer to your question, which has been really helpful, especially like the more you go down some of these rabbit holes of like exploring being a developer and a designer, like you can always go back to the community and ask, and like you'll get an answer.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm going to move on. There's just a quick question about, it says the hand sensor. Will it work if I move my hand really fast, or move it over my head, or is there any sort of limitation with that?
Well, unfortunately, that of course is something that we cannot actually say right now, because they haven't really released any specifications of the sensors that they're using. But all of the devices that I have used, the hand movement, you have to be a little bit delicate to actually capture it. But the sensors that Apple is using, like, they're high end, so of course they'll have the capability to understand like your quick movement of hands. There is another device called Ultraleap, which I have tried. It uses an IR sensor, and it's really efficient, like when it comes to understanding your hand movement. And probably something similar is in Apple as well. But we have to. I can completely answer that the moment that I've tested it.
That's fair. That's as safe of an answer as we can do for right now. And then this one here. So we had one come in the chat. I think Z shared it from the chat log there. But is iOS visionOS development possible on a Windows or Linux system?
So the development, if we consider Unity, of course you can use Unity within Windows, and at the same time you can export the Unity project to an Apple project. But to build it, right? So there is this concept called building. Building means your code, or the tools, or the things that you have done, it converts itself to something that your device can understand. Let's just say an Apple iPhone or visionOS. That is possible only through a Mac device, only through an Apple device, only through the tool called Xcode, which is only available for Mac, unfortunately. So that's why I said, like, Apple ecosystem, they do not consider any other operating system. They don't know there are any other people, competitors around the world. It's just Apple. That's the thing.
Awesome. And I'm gonna put this one up, and then I'm just gonna say we've done answering that one, because it's the same question again there, I believe. Let's see. I'm not sure about this one. Can we try and get a license for Vision Pro to start development on that platform?
So you don't need to, like, even if the platform is available, you don't really need to get a license to develop, unless of course you had to get the device, which is obviously it's a pretty big amount. But all of these developer tools are readily available even right now. You can go to developer.apple.com and you can search for all the tools. You can download them, but you have to have a Apple device to use them, like Xcode. But Unity, if you wanna get a head start of building 3D applications, then of course you can just install Unity with the onto the device that you have right now. So every tool that we have used in my demo right today, I have spent none, right, except for the devices that I'm using. So the tools are readily available for you.
Perfect. I'm not sure if that overlaps with another one you've answered here, but it says, how soon can we start developing for Vision Pro and view results? And Indica already answered this in the chat. The device will be available by the start of next year, but the tools will be available for us to try around July. So I'll just kind of mention what you said there for that. What are the tools for XR development for Apple platforms using Windows OS? Sorry. I know Unity pretty well, and I'd like to test applications for iOS.
what are the tools for XR development for Apple platforms using Windows OS? Unfortunately, there's no for XR development. It is Unity, right? So the thing is, as I mentioned in my talk before, Unity is a cross-platform tool. You can build on it, and Unity manages porting into different platforms. So you build a small game, a small XR application using your Windows device, right? You can do that. And the moment that you have an Apple device, you will be able to move that project into your Apple device and build on. That is what I did today. I have my Windows. So what I'm speaking to is a Windows machine, but I have a separate macOS machine just to do the build part. I did the whole development using my Windows machine because I prefer that. And then I moved everything over to my Apple device just for the building, only for the building process. Yeah. Monday, Casey said, so probably it's the same thing that he's doing.
That's like the pro tip to walk away with. Like, have a device just so you can build for like an iPhone, but dev on a Windows.
Yeah, paperweight until it's there to build.
Exactly.
So we've already answered this one as well in terms of the systems that we would need. Is it difficult to migrate an existing XR app tailored for HoloLens or some other device to Vision Pro? I'm not sure if we touched on this specifically, but
this is a really good question. Yeah, this is a really good question. So Apple, if you go to developer.apple.com, Apple has a separate section talking about migrating your existing project to Apple Vision Pro. So if you have built for the HoloLens, of course, there are some things that you need to get rid of because, HoloLens is mainly developed for the Microsoft ecosystem. So some of those, we call them binary. So these may not compatible with Mac. So you have to remove them, of course. But if you have developed an interaction which does not rely on a specific device feature, like HoloLens speech recognition, so that might be that might not be available for the Vision Pro. So you have to, of course, ditch them, and then you have to get only what you can to port it to the new device. So if you are building something, try to make sure that it's not very hardware compatible. Like, it should be hardware compatible, but there is a concept called generalization. So you build it in a more generalized way. So it's going to be very modularized, so that you can quickly change the module that manages the device to work on it. That is what the XR Interaction Toolkit does. So a lot of work has been done by Unity for us, pretty good. So they're going to be doing the same for the visionOS as well, Vision Pro as well.
Awesome. Okay, and then let's do this one. Where do we see the future of UX, UI, FUI design for Vision Pro going in the next few years?
I would say when it comes to design, so they have built a separate device, right? So when it comes to Vision Pro, they've built a separate device, and on top of that, they'll build a separate operating system from the ground up, right? So the operating system, it's a new way that humans can interact with computers, right? So far we've been using we've been using Oculus Quest, but we have been using Android operating system. So it's nothing new. Of course, the interactions are a little bit different. So this one is an operating system that is built from the ground up. So of course, there's going to be new, similar devices that are going to be there in the future, right? So they have mentioned that you can develop native applications, like flat screen applications that kind of can be immersed into the actual world. So there's going to be new fields of user experience design for these platforms, right? It's not going to be just 3D games design, right? It's going to be something extraordinary. So you have to, as designers, you are the ones who has to figure out how to use the tools that they have given to build, different kinds of interactions in these platforms. And I believe, you may have never heard of UX designer, like a user interface designer, when feature phones were available, right? But Apple came up with the iOS Apple device, and then there's a bunch of Android devices came out, and now there's a separate role where you actually design user interfaces for applications. Now that we have XR, right, there's going to be new jobs that are going to be created for just for this. And of course, if you are currently in those fields, then this is the time to kind of pivot, not pivot, I mean just grasp everything that is possible in the future to your work pipeline.
Yeah.
Fun.
I will say, just to add something like a +1, if nothing else, to what Indica's saying, I think I am not an Apple person at all. I will live and die by my Android and my Windows, but I do have to like tip my hat for Apple because their UI is so consistent and so loved by everybody that has Apple devices. That's why people get like the iPhone, the MacBook, the iPad, and then like the desktop Mac as well, because everything integrates across their platform so easily. So I 200% agree with Indica that like the future of UI UX is really something that like you all, the designers and developers, have the opportunity to create, because now you're going to have the interface that people like, what, 90% of the world or 90% of consumers use Apple products. Like all these people already love this interface, and now you have this new media that they've created for you to take their interface that people love and put it there. So like they already talked about like FaceTime and Messenger, but like all of these other Apple exclusive apps and softwares and programs that people love are going to need UI UX. That's going to need to be ported to the Vision Pro. And yeah, I mean, the market's already there. Like Apple is not dumb by any means with like their branding and their marketing. So yeah, I think I agree with Indica. I think it's something that is like, it's hard to see the future because the future is going to be emerging as we watch it emerge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, perfect. Thank you both. Thank you both. Again, answers above my head here a little bit, but mostly understanding. Now this is kind of a two-part question. Somebody with the initials SP has put in 2 parts here. I'm going to share the first part and then maybe just kind of elaborate into the second. But imagine having a goal to get a job as an XR designer. Is it possible to achieve this goal? And if so, how long would it take approximately in terms of courses taken and time spent learning? The second part to this question, and they've stated is probably the most important, is it possible to get a job with course certification without a bachelor or master's degree? So I'm just going to look right at Monday here and let Monday answer this question.
I'm gonna let Monday answer.
Yeah.
He can speak for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll answer the first part. Is it possible to achieve this goal? Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I've seen people get discouraged about is the time it takes is completely relative to the person, what kind of previous experience you have, what your portfolio looks like, what specific skills like do you have. If you're just coming in as like an XR designer, I think a lot of people think that that's a specific thing to say, like I'm an XR designer, but design is like this web that just like splinters underneath designer. So if you're an XR designer, are you like an XR designer with like lighting or scene management or asset optimization or hard surface or character? Like there's so much underneath design that I think a lot of people, when they have a portfolio, their portfolio is very varied. And instead of like, I'm applying to be like a lighting artist, but your portfolio has like hard surface stuff. Like it's hard to say, like, is this person a good lighting artist? Is this person a good designer if their portfolio doesn't represent that? So if you have a specific goal, I would say my answer to that first question would be make sure that you're catering like yourself, your portfolio, and how you market yourself to the industry for that specific goal, and not for the blanket, like I am a designer, unless you really are like a master of all, which is, if that's what you are, great. I couldn't do it. But it is going to be kind of based off of like the accumulation of everything. But for your second question, is it possible to get the job without a bachelor's or a master's? Absolutely. I have a job, and the only true game dev experience I have is the courses that I took with Circuit Stream. I will say, like, kind of echoing back to my first part, I was able to get a job specifically in management because I have a very strong management background. And so I looked for a role that fit my strengths. You know, I didn't apply for like an engineering role or a developer role. I knew that I had management level experience. I was interested in being a manager within the gaming industry. So that's what I applied for. So if you do want to be a designer or engineer or like a tester or something like that, I 200% believe that you don't necessarily need a bachelor's or a master's to get that job or to be successful, but you do need to make sure you have the experience and the portfolio and the presence that matches the job that you're applying for. So if you want to be, again, that engineer, then have you done at least some sort of knowledge base in game design and game engineering? Do you have a portfolio that speaks to your strengths as an engineer? Do you go into the interview talking about your strengths as an engineer? And are you able to leverage like even some of your past experiences to show like, yes, I've never done game engineering before, but I used to be a project manager, so I know how to project manage, or I used to lead a team of 3 people, so I have leadership capability, and really marketing yourself.
Exactly. So just to add to that, it reminds me a quick story about how somebody, that I met. So I'm originally from Sri Lanka. It's the other side of the world. I have helped people without even masters or degrees, or they haven't even learning for a degree or any course, but they have the passion to work on this, right? So now that specific individual is actually heading a research lab in Germany. So he has moved to Germany to head a research XR lab, which is I'm proud of. So I've seen people who has the passion to learn something. So my role that back then was to mentor that person, right? So, and like that is what we do with Circuit Stream as well. We teach you the basics, we teach you the principles, we teach you the fundamentals, and at the same time we are mentoring you, right? It is your job to be motivated and to use these resources that we give you to the fullest to achieve that, right? So like you might like what we do is we motivate you with the question, what is your end goal? If you want to be an XR designer, do you have Unity open right now? Right? Do you have Unity open right now? I know Monday, like when he was learning, like every day he had a question in Unity, something, right? So that is how you learn. That is how you like push yourself a little bit forward than today. So you do that, you create a really good portfolio, and then of course like the roles will just come on a plate to you.
Mm-hmm. And there's different tiers of roles as well. As somebody myself, I work on the career support side for our graduates as well, especially for the boot camps. But there's different tiers. People are asking me, how do I break into the industry? Can I do it with your course education? Absolutely. But are you going to take the course and then move into a senior level developer in your first job? Probably not. Or a senior level designer your first job? Probably not. These are things that you kind of build up to. But because I'm on the career support side, I know that there's early career sections of studios that exist. I know there's tons of opportunity for internship, and a lot of the students who are taking our courses will lean on our internal community and also take a little bit of initiative, like Indica said, and kind of reach out and look for additional support or look for internships while they're in the course, so that when they complete the courses, they're a little bit more desirable for the early career opportunities and things like that. So, and sorry, Monday, I didn't mean to cut you off if you were about to say something there as well.
Nope, I was about to say exactly what you said. Just that like there's a lot of studios right now, especially like with the work from home and remote work environment, are looking at a lot of people going through courses like this and boot camps like similar to the ones Circuit Stream offer for those early in career people or career transition individuals, or starting to really analyze like what does it take to be a successful engineer here, and really thinking about, do we need somebody who has 7 years of experience just to bring them in and we're going to teach them our way of doing things anyway? Like, is that a realistic expectation for like an entry-level position? Probably not. Like, so I would definitely say, look for those early in careers, those internship opportunities, those associate level roles, and give yourself time to grow. I mean, it's, at least with me, kind of what Indica was saying, like my mindset was, I want to get my foot in the door. I was lucky to get the job at the level that I'm at, but I'm more than anything else, like I want my foot in the door. I want to get into the industry because I knew once I got into the industry, it's easier to move once you're inside instead of from like, waiting outside the club, like you're just trying to get in. Subtle rap reference, but yeah.
It's a good comparison. Yeah, I agree with that though. Well, perfect. Let's move on to the next one because I think we've got still quite a few questions here. Can you elaborate on the 3D model format you mentioned, USDC,
Yeah.
or whatever it says?
So this is called USDZ. USDZ. It's called Universal Scene Description. So Universal Scene Description is a file format created by Pixar and Apple. Apple and Pixar has its own connections. So Apple, Pixar, so Universal Scene Description. So if you are coming from a 3D design, 3D modeling background, there are certain, extensions like OBJ, FBX, like things like the STL, different kinds of extensions. But Universal Scene Description is a little bit further, like it's a bit more to that, because it has the capability to save interactions, animations, music, and different stuff. So that is the file format that Apple's Reality Composer uses. So whatever the 3D model that you put into it, it only supports USDZ file format, which has all the animations and everything. So what they do is they create like their own like authoring tool. Like Reality Composer Pro is actually an authoring tool. So it uses this authoring tool to add those interactions and all of them together, which can be viewed properly, right? So it's a different kind of a 3D model extension, which has more features into it rather than just the 3D mesh. What do I say? Mesh is the like this 3D mesh information, material, which are color information, and the animations. So USDC has more than that.
And then I don't know if this, I'm just going to put this up and let you take a look at this one, Indy. Or Mike.
Yeah, how to use it in CAD work as a mechanical engineer, import STL or another file to see CAD work from the Google. I also got LiDAR knowledge background. How could I use it into it? So traditional LiDAR, not traditional, I mean, LiDAR, if you're talking about the research perspective, so those are the LiDAR sensors that looks like this, right? That rotates around, so it captures, which basically is added to the robots to understand the context around. But the LiDAR system that this device has is a little bit different. So unfortunately, they have, like Apple has mentioned, that you will not get access to any of these cameras. Never, as developers, you will never get access to any of these cameras. But they will give you all of these like necessary details to manage, to create applications. So speaking of CAD and importing STL files, so Unity directly does not support STL files. It supports files like OBJ, FBX, GLB. There's something called GLTF format, GLB. I'm not sure that GLB directly supports. If you do not have a specific tool that is installed. But when it comes to CAD design, Unity has a direct integration with BML. Is it called? It's called Unity Reflect. So it has the capability to directly connect to a tool like Autodesk Revit and get that information directly into Unity. It's a very different industrial level integration. But we talk about the difference between a game and a VR game, right? It's the contextual difference. So you connect your Unity application to Revit or an existing CAD model. We call it BMI model, right? BMI model. And you can view it in VR, or you can even view it in AR. And real time, like there is a way that you can real time modify the content, and you can see how it changes in the world. So not coming from a low-level perspective, but you have Unity, like if you're coming from like that, like LiDAR experience and CAD design and everything, I would say this is really good for you because you already have some sort of knowledge in terms of how everything works. It's just that you have to get some knowledge into how to actually put it into Unity, how to change the context, how to actually view this in AR and VR. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. And then there's another one here. We already have an answer for it, so I actually can't post it live, but Do you have any portfolio links from multiple former students to help us get an idea of the resulting skill sets? Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, if you just go on to circuitstream.com, you can go through and find testimonials, you can find projects, you can find examples of work. Outside of that, the answer that somebody on our team had provided here was going to our Instagram account. We often share projects, student projects, and reels there, and I believe it is just at CircuitStream on Instagram. If you search CircuitStream and it's not that exact handle, you'll be able to find it, but I'm pretty sure it's just at CircuitStream. And then, yeah, just the website there. You can also go through your YouTube channel, look at previous workshops. We use examples of presentations in those all the time as well. So lots of materials there. And then if you'd like to connect once you're in, you can kind of connect with our community as well. So get more information that way. Does the program cover visionOS development in Apple community or just Quest?
The Vision program, there's the program called visionOS development and Apple community or just Quest. So as I said before, we are focusing more on the fundamentals of development and design. And currently we are using a Meta Quest because it's accessible for everybody, right? So like it's cheap. It's one of the cheapest VR headsets available right now, and everybody can get it. That is what we are using right now for demonstration purposes. But for development purposes, of course, if you have an Apple Vision Pro, then of course you'll be able to do that. So like, for example, I did a mentor session with one of our students who has used, who has a Magic Leap device. And we do not have Magic Leap development in our courses like directly, but as they know the fundamental, it's just a matter of integrating the software development kits that Magic Leap has provided. So we kind of like mentor them. We just guide them through, all right, this is it, this is how you can import it. The rest are pretty much the same thing that you learn throughout the course.
Perfect. And then I'm interested in making immersive narrative animations for VR, like Pixar shorts. How much C# will I need to learn for developing in Unity? I currently use Blender, Maya, and Unreal, and scripting is minimum in that workflow. Just trying to understand what I'll be getting myself into. That's from Zach.
Yeah, this is pretty good. Like, so you talk about creating immersive narrative animations. If you have used Blender and Maya, you already know how to create animations. Like that is something that I cannot do. I wish I knew. I cannot make animations. I'm really bad at it. I try to do one. I'm really bad. I don't know how to do how to animate things. If you can't do that, it's just a matter of exporting and importing that animation into Unity. And Unity has its own timeline sequencer, right? It's not just there's no code that you have to use, right? So if you want to create a small movie, you can do that without even touching the code. There is something called timeline sequencer. You can add it. You can add voice. So I have it open right now. I'm kind of I don't think I have the time to explain everything, but it has certain tracks. You can add videos, animations, 3D models. You can change colors. You can do whatever you want within Unity without using any code. Of course, it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just add, I suck at design as well. I say it all the time. Like, I can't make it look pretty, but I can bring it to life. Like, I don't even touch it. So I used Rococo Studio to do some like mocap work one weekend, and then use that Unity's timeline to create like a cinematic intro for a project that I'm working on, and literally had to do nothing. Like, I took my Rococo Studio, recorded animation, attached it to a character rig, used the timeline to like sync up like an explosion, a spawn effect, like some audio files playing and stuff like that. And I was like, cool, I have a VR cinematic intro. And I think exactly. I was in and out in like under an hour. So you can definitely do it.
Yeah, exactly. And the coolest part is, like, if you are using XR interaction toolkit, and if you're building a VR like animation, let's just say that you are sitting and you have like 3D models playing around, you can of course interact. You can create interactions. Like, for example, grab something would be an interaction, and without any code, you can add that. When you grab it, you can deactivate one timeline and activate another timeline to initiate another animation. So it's pretty easy. Ideas keep flowing in my mind. You know,
yeah.
I'm thinking.
I mean,
do something right now. Of course.
There's even the game. I hope everybody knows about it, but Super Hot VR, the shooter game that came out, that whole thing is the Unity timeline. Like that's just timeline animation of like you moving the XR rig across the timeline, and all the animations that happen at certain times as you move. So that timeline is your friend. It's crazy.
Oh man. Wow.
Well, thank you both again for that. And we have another one here that one of our members shared here from the chat. So this versus the Meta AR course, how is this different? Just want to know because I'm deeply invested.
Meta AR course, I would say it's heavily relying on the platform, which is Meta Spark, which of course is a platform to build filters, right? So the thing is, in our design course, we are using Meta Spark to prototype for mobile augmented reality. So if you want to prototype something that uses face tracking, just like put up a hat or something, right? You want to prototype a new integration or like some sort of a marketing activation or something like that, then of course you can use Meta Spark. But our course is like it's more than that. It teaches you the fundamentals, and of course it teaches you like how to adapt to different new platforms, right? Because we don't want to keep updating our courses every time that somebody creates a new device, right? So that is why we are focusing more on the fundamentals, and we are there to mentor you to like, even if there's a new like XB123 new VR headset that comes up tomorrow, and yes, we are ready to build to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then let's see, there's just one here that already been answered, but I'll just say it out loud for anybody who's listening to this specific question. Originally, the bootcamp had an overall project that you would focus along with smaller portfolio pieces. Do you still have a larger project? So we answered, yes, the bootcamp contains a range of projects throughout the course, with the final capstone project being where you create your own idea and skills learned throughout the bootcamp. So just wanted to make sure I shout that out in case anybody's not reading the questions tab there and have that same question. Does this program cover visionOS development and Apple community related topics, or just MetaQuest? I feel like we've kind of touched on that one already a little bit too. I'm just going to kind of post this up. We're going to have probably a few questions that are duplicated just because people have the same questions, which is great. So do these courses include any lessons regarding immersive experiences for non-abled body individuals?
Maybe Monday.
Yeah, I will just so from the student experience side, because I know that's the team that I work most closely with, I know, at least to my knowledge, we don't have any courses or modules within our course specifically for that. But that is something like if you're, an individual who needs additional assistance for whatever reason, that's something from the student experience side that we do work with on a case-by-case basis. And I know quite a few of our instructors have talked about using like one-on-one sessions or, office hours to talk about how to create, the same immersive experience, but can be like do certain things for, different individuals that might have like, sensory concerns or different things like that. So it's definitely something that we can explore. It's not something directly tied into the modules or the learning material. But, all of our instructors are great, and they'll walk you through kind of like different experiences and different ways to like still get the same immersive experience, but make it accessible for everybody.
Absolutely. And then this one, I feel like this is kind of a broad question. We've touched on this. We've answered this in probably a few different ways, but do AR developers need to know coding?
I would say no, and at the same time, I would say yes. No is because these tools have already given you the how do you say the fundament? How do you call it? The foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've given you the foundation to put something out there and see it. Of course, this was not possible like 5 years back when I was starting it. I had to learn coding to do that. Now there's like so much of that. Even Reality Composer Pro, it's just a matter of adding the 3D model, right? But of course, if you want to build something that is custom, let's just say that you want something to, you need your hand to like, I don't know, to draw something when you move your hand, right? Let's just say that you need to do this and twist it, and then I don't know, some sort of a very custom integration, which is not like given to you by these authoring tools, then of course you need to know a little bit of C# coding to actually implement that, right? So that way, what you're doing is you're asking the computer to do something new. If you want the computer to do something new that is not out there, if you want to invent your own thing, then of course you have to use C# coding. But to use something that's already there and to to be creative and to build something custom, that you can do without using. I've seen people do that, like for example, Snapchat, Spark AR. I've seen people building like 3D scanners using that tool. I don't know how they do that. It's really mesmerizing work, but of course you can do that with Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then I just had another one here. Can the design mules? No. I had another one lined up, but maybe we already answered it. Do you think the Vision Pro will run much in the way of VR apps and games? That's one you guys can speak to.
Vision Pro will run much in the way of VR apps and games. So there are some limitations. Some limitations are there in terms of gaming because they do not have a controller that looks like this. So something like Beat Saber, probably not possible. But if you want to play a racing game as a racer, and if you are to use something like this, of course, it is possible. There are limitations. That is what I was a little bit concerned. Oh man, there's no controllers, but at least there is this. You have gaze, and then you have like voice input. Not a lot that you can do. Not a lot that you can do, but of course, we have to try and see, right? We have to push the hardware to its boundaries and see what it's capable of.
Yeah, I definitely saw that as like one of the biggest like shaking my head moments was like they didn't have like some sort of like optional controller. Maybe they're waiting on it. Because I definitely see a lot of like the Vision Pro games being I don't know if you guys know like the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix with like the AI that he talks to, and he's playing that game where he's like making the character run by doing this in front of the screen. I'm like, that's what like, playing games on Vision Pro is going to be. It's just a lot of this.
Yeah, but of course I'm hopeful because it's running an M2 processor, right? So there is unlimited capability for device manufacturers to design a controller, because like this anyway supports the device. They mentioned it in the keynote. This anyway supports. So it's a matter of splitting it and then changing how data is handed through Bluetooth to the device. And then it's the developers' work to actually get that information and then use it to their advantage. Of course, there's going to be, knowing Apple, I know that they're very much restrictive when it comes to third-party, hardware. But I don't know. I'm hopeful. There's somebody will manage something.
Yeah.
And then this one here, do you foresee growth of demand for XR in the tech sector in the next few years? I can just answer this and say absolutely. I mean, we're seeing growth of demand for XR in all different areas. Tech, of course, but we're kind of seeing expand into healthcare and education and any type of training that you would need. So there's probably just going to be growth of demand overall, I would say, in many different sectors, but specifically in tech, absolutely. That's kind of where most of it lives initially. So, oops, I just skipped past like 5 questions there. Let's see, we've answered. I'm trying to find ones that we haven't answered here because I know we've been in Q&A for quite a while here. Are we going to learn Unity Reflect in the program? Can you speak to that one, Indy?
Unity Reflect is it's actually an enterprise tool which is mainly used in big big companies. Currently, it's a paid thing that they can use. But of course, if you're interested if you want to try it out, it's not actually in our courses. But if you want to try it out with a mentor, with an instructor of us, then like you can do that.
Perfect. And then I could see somebody off to the side had asked about taking the courses overseas. And I think we've answered, but just to make sure everybody's aware, the courses are available globally. We have different time slots available, and they are all online and live taught. So as long as you find the time slot that works the best for you and you're able to kind of attend, you can take our courses from anywhere in the world. So yeah, there shouldn't be any barriers there. Oh, I've hit the top of the question list. What is the scope for upcoming 3D modeling students with internship opportunities or any creative competitions? So I can kind of answer a little bit of that. On my side, I am looking at putting together some collaborative events with some of our partners and getting some further internship opportunities set up. I actually have some intern opportunities for some of our students right away. I have a couple AR/VR companies looking to bring in some people. They are always looking for, in their eyes, they're always looking for people to come in and do some free labor for them. But on the other side, it's the students are always looking for opportunities and ways to kind of break in. So if you have any further questions on that, we can kind of connect and I can share a little bit more about what the overall scope looks like. But there's definitely upcoming competitions and opportunities that would be there for you. And that was from Saloni. So Saloni, reach out to me if you have any questions there. And how would you, this is the top question, the last one there, how would you combine Adobe Premiere and Unity development? Anyone?
Adobe Premiere is actually a video production tool. So you create videos out of it. Unity is a 3D, it's real time. It's not like baked, right? So when you create something in Adobe Premiere, it's like you can see all the timelines and everything, but what you get as an export is just one flat video, everything flattened, right? So I'm not seeing a way to combine both of them together, rather than using something that you created in Premiere as a cutscene in Unity. Like, of course, like in earlier games, there are like videos that are kind of jump on top of the real-time game to show a small cutscene and then go back. But now, of course, all these movies and things like that are like done within the engine itself because it's easier to, you don't really need to create videos for cutscenes. I'm not seeing a connection. Maybe Monday you can also answer to that because I know that you're using Premiere Pro like extensively.
Yeah, so I don't have a clear answer for that. The work that I do doesn't touch it, but I would say exactly what Indica was saying, like maybe for like a cutscene or if you did a combination of creating a series of animations that you record in Unity and then use Adobe Premiere to like stitch it to like some other thing, like if you export the timeline or something like that. But I can't think of like a one-to-one how I would do it in like my everyday work.
Yeah, no problem. That's good. I'm sure that suffices there to kind of answer any sort of connectivity there. Now we've been in Q&A for quite a while here, so maybe what I'll do is I can kind of wrap that part up, and if there's any questions that we missed off to the side, I always apologize. I never mean to miss any questions. Try to get them all answered as I can, but if we did miss anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to the team here, or even if you just have a question that comes up after the event. I'm going to ask the team on the back end to maybe repost the links for the courses. I think they did in just a minute ago there, but we're going to share the links in the chat. So if anybody's looking to register for the upcoming cohorts, looks like according to my notifications, we've had a couple registrations come in during this workshop. So not sure how many seats are available for the upcoming one, but feel free to click the links and take a look at the upcoming availability. I know we've got a couple cohorts coming up. And then Z, if you want to share those links again in the chat, you can. If not, they should be just a little higher up there for anybody who's looking to register. And of course, we can share the links with you directly afterwards. But thank you so much. They're off to the right there. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Special shout out to both Indy and Monday. Thank you for taking the time to share the course information and just overall XR and new Apple announcement information with everybody here today. We'll look forward to the next workshop and the next info session that we will be having coming up. I can see everybody saying thank you off to the side there. So thank you so much on behalf of Circuit Stream. Thank you, Indy. Thank you, Monday. And we will see everybody at the next info session that we have likely in a few weeks here. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye from Circuit Stream.